So you believe in Jesus. You've had an encounter, a moment with God. Or maybe something has at least sparked your curiosity about who Jesus is. I would like to introduce what I call the big three of the faith. And whether you're a Christian for 1 year, 2 years, or 25 years, this is always going to be foundational to the faith walk. Number one, the written word, the Logos. You begin to read this word and you're finding out who God is through this word. You're going to find out what his eternal plan was, what the gospel is, the good news. You're going to find out his likes, his dislikes, what he expects from his people. And as you read this word, you then realize that this God of the Bible, is accessible to speak to. And you begin to pray. This is number two. Pray to God. And you realize that over time that it's not just a monologue, it's actually a dialogue. That he begins to speak to you. That you draw near to God and he draws near to you. He begins to speak to you. And this can look, I think when you're early in the walk, you're looking for this audible voice of God. But when you mature a little bit, you discern that God doesn't always communicate in the same ways. He can speak to you through life situations, through his people. He can speak to you through downloads. He can just put something in your spirit where you're like, man, I never would have thought of that. He can just download ideas into your mind and words and just knowings into your spirit. And as you walk with him, you begin to realize and discern his voice. Number three, praise and worship. As you continue reading and learning about this God, as you continue speaking to him and he starts to speak back to you, you realize that this God is worthy of praise and worship. You begin to see how good he is, how faithful, just how holy, and you begin to praise and worship him. And as you praise and worship, you begin to feel the manifest presence of God and these visitations of his spirit. And in these moments, there is no questioning of whether he's real or not. Everything breaks off. And as you continue to do this, strongholds break off. Just sin starts to fall off of your life. And there's an amazing quote about the Bible, and it says, the Bible keeps you from sin, or sin keeps you from the Bible. And I found that to be one of the truest quotes ever, because I've seen it in my own life, especially early on in the walk, when I was being disobedient, when I was straying away from God. I found that the last thing I wanted to do was read the Bible, because the Bible was going to shine light and make me look at my sin in its true light. But then on the contrary, as I began to submit and read the word and pray and praise and worship, that my taste for sin began to change. I started to detest it. I think that's the word I'm looking for, detest sin. So these are the big three. That's the big three of the faith. No matter what, day to day in the Christian walk, you cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong with these three things, and you will grow in your faith exponentially. But there's one important kicker to these three. You will need to do these, yes, in your personal life, but also under a spiritual covering within community. The one thing about the Christian walk is there is no lone rangers. You will get picked off. There's a spiritual reality of, warfare, and you're not going to be able to do it alone. You need backup. You need friends. You need people to do this walk with. And, as you read this word, you're going to have questions. As you even pray, you're going to have questions. And there's going, even in praise and worship, there's going to be this continuing learning who God is, and you're gonna need spiritual covering, and you're gonna need brothers and sisters in the faith to bounce ideas off of and be accountable to.